team do you really think this season's team?
And good morning, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Pass and Ave Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group of companions on this very important, beautiful Saturday morning across the Delaware Valley. Joey Marks, what's going on, my brother? How you doing? And good morning.
Good morning, James. Good morning, Philadelphia, and welcome in. We have a jam-packed show. But first, before we get to that, I want to introduce our very special guest, our good friend, Mike Lauro from It's a Wrap Sports Network. How you doing? Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, guys. It's been a little bit since I've been on, since the last time I've been on with you fellas, but how you guys been?
I've been good, man. I've been really good. We're like really busy with a lot of stuff, though, but life is good, man. Like, hope all is well with you, my friend.
Excellent, excellent. So let's get started with the first topic of the day, which is your Fightin' Phils. The Fightin' Phils have been pretty much turning around as of late. I got to ask the question, kind of leading off with this. Will the real Philadelphia Phillies please stand up? Because I am confused. Who really is the Phillies? Is it the team that I've been seeing for the last 12 games? Or is it the team that I've been seeing the first 15 games of the season, 15, 20 games of the season? I'm not entirely sure. Mike Lauro, who is the real Philadelphia Phillies team in your mind?
I think it's a little mixture of both, Joey. But I think it's more towards the latter because they're doing it. They're playing small ball, and they're not being solely dependent on the home run ball. So to me, I'm going to say the latter. And if you look at their records are very, very close and very similar to the years that they went to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
They were putting it out there the other day. I'm just hoping that this isn't the downfall of one Aaron Nola, because we saw again last night he got rocked. To me, I love Aaron Nola. I think he's probably number two in this order, maybe even number three now, really, with how well Christopher Sanchez has come up. So with that being said, man, I like the way this lineup's playing. Joe and James, when we talked earlier in the year and we were kind of giving a preview of what this Philly season could look like, I told you guys, I said, watch out for Max Kepler. I think he's going to be a very good pickup for this Phillies team. And, it took Max a little bit to get going, but he's really doing it. But I'll tell you what, I love the bottom of this lineup. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about between 8, 9, 1, and 2.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much speed at the bottom of that lineup right now. That bottom is causing havoc.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of people had a little questions about Schwarber because he's not leading off. I'll tell you what, I think Schwarber's been doing great where he's been hitting,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be 4 or 5. So, I mean, I'm loving the fact of where this team is producing. They're pitching to me. The bullpen kind of scared me early on, but the bullpen looks like it's starting to right the ship. Like Jordan Romano's been looking very good as of recently. And you have Taijuan Walker, which I'm going to say is a little bit of fool's gold for right now. But, I mean, if he's going to continue to look as good as he's looked, there's a potential trade piece right there. And I know, Joe, we were talking before we got on about some of the trade rumors, but, you might be able to dump a Taijuan Walker in a Nolan Arenado deal, with St. Louis, and bring Nolan Arenado in here and, give Alec Bowman's walking papers. That's the only guy I think in this Phillies lineup that I'm really not. I'm not keen on. I think what you see is what you get with him. I don't think there's going to be any more upside to an Alec Bohm. But in Alec Bohm's defense, I will say this: I got to be fair when I'm being critical. He's been batting over 300 now in his last 16 games. So maybe he just took him a minute to get going. So I mean, again, you have to wait and see of what Dombrowski's going to do. But I got as much as people want to kill Dombrowski for the moves that he didn't make during the free agency period. I laud him and applaud him for not trading away the young talent the Phillies have right now. I don't know if you guys follow, the Iron Pigs and the Phillies farm system, but Aiden Miller's looking good. You got Otto Kemp, who's tearing the ball off down at AAA right now. He's the third baseman for the Iron Pigs. He's tearing the cover off the ball down there. You know, and I think it's only a matter of time. Crawford's doing his thing as well. So, the Phillies have options there. So they don't have to go out and spend and go get a rental player for a year. They could, but I'm looking back on it now. So Joey, to answer your question, I know I kind of went around the world here with this, but to answer your question, I think it's more of the latter that they've been showing, only because they're not being solely dependent on the long ball. They're playing small ball, and the bottom of that lineup is just getting on base to be driven in.
Yeah.
James, I'll ask you the same question. We saw what this team was in the beginning of the season for the first month or so, and we see them for the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, and it seems like a Jekyll and Hyde. What do you think? Which Phillies do you think the real Phillies are? Do you think they're the ones that are playing lately, or do you think that they are, somewhat of the Phillies from the first month of the season, or are they a combination?
I think it's a combination of both, gonna admit, Joe, because you think about the Phillies, how they were at the beginning of the season, right, and they started to struggle a little bit here and there, but usually around this time, I think last year, and probably even Mike alluded to, was the World Series run, and even 2023 and even last year in 2024 too. But the one thing that stuck out to me is that this Phillies team looks like they are finally getting their footing back and finally trying to get back into that groove of what they were in those previous years. But the question is, though, if they can sustain it, if they can sustain this for another few more months or so, because that's what's going to come down to it, Joe. If they can sustain this for another few months to get into the postseason and actually go into the World Series and actually win it. I mean, yeah, sure, it's only May. We're in May 10th, and we got a long ways away from that happening. But right now, yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Yeah, they have some good games. Yeah, they have some really inconsistency in their game sometimes, but usually half the time, yeah, they play really good baseball. Like that game on Thursday night when that comeback, and I thought they played very, very well. The bullpen looked well. The hitting is starting to get into a groove, into that preview of hitting season, like Charlie Manuel always alluded to too. But the thing that stuck out to me the most is that, yeah, if the Phillies make this happen and make it into what they are, if they want to continue to have that same level of success, it has to come with your top hitters also being a part of that too, like Bryce Harper. And right now, Harper's not playing well.
Well, I will. That's where I'm going to segue into, and that's a perfect segue to kind of go into Bryce Harper. When we look at some of the hitters that are really thriving in this lineup, you look at someone like Trey Turner, that over the last 12 games has been batting over 300. You will look at Bryson Stott, who, since he's been put in the leadoff position, the Phillies have gone 15-4. Guys like Kyle Schwarber, who has a 44 game on base streak going and is second in home runs, I believe. This is a guy that, we would say, okay, we're not going to worry about Kyle Schwarber until June, because that's when he really heats up. Well, someone must have told him it was June back in April, because that's the only reason why I can expect that Kyle Schwarber is hitting the ball so far, so much, so many times out of the yard. But
that's the thing too. I mean, you think about with Schwarber too. I mean, he's like they turn it into the Schwarber that we always alluded to in June, obviously. But the thing I take out of it too is that it's not the top of the lineup that needs to step it up here. I mean, Schwarber's doing well.
Yep.
Castellanos is doing good. Also, all the other stuff in between too. But the thing that I was really, I mean, if Harper has to be your key piece to get you to that World Series, that's going to be that's what it's going to come down to too. And right now, majority of the lineup is great. I mean, even like even Mike said too, the 8, 9, and 1 batters are playing to the capability of what we signed them up for. And also, I gotta say right now, Trey Turner looks very good in this stretch too. But the question I have to ask is that if Harper starts to continue to struggle like this, I mean, what do you do with his game? What do you do with his with these couple games? I mean, do you sit him for a couple games to clear his head, or do you just? I mean, obviously you won't send him down to the minors. That'll be a little bit crazy if
what do
if you want to do.
think, Mike?
I think Harper's probably.
What do you think, Mike? What do you think?
I think he's his own worst enemy. I really do.
Yeah.
To me, right now, I think he's maybe trying to do too much. You know, and if you listen to his comments, you know, after it was one of the games down there in Tampa, you know, or I'm sorry, no, it was the last one that they lost. He really kind of took ownership of it because he was up with a chance to win the game and he didn't do it. And, you know, I will say this, he does take ownership of it, but yeah, your $330 million man's got to start producing. And I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit on Castellanos. I think Casty could be doing a lot better. Again, he's also very streaky. Him and Trey Turner are the same person in my eyes, as far as like being at the plate. They're both very streaky hitters. You know, but Casty, I mean, we kind of saw what he did a year ago, you know, like he literally, the whole first half of the year, he had this Phillies team on his back.
Right.
You know, when nobody was hitting. So, again, it was him and Alec Boehm. I think that if this Phillies team, the one thing that was to knock against them is that there's always somebody in a rut in this lineup. Okay. And, you know, this lineup, since this lineup has been put together, I have not seen it fully clicking where everybody in the lineup is fully going.
Yeah.
You know, this Phillies team would be so dangerous if everybody was clicking. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, the one guy I feel has been getting a pass all year has been JT Realmuto as far as offensively. He has been horrible.
Awful.
He has been awful. He's still good behind the plate. He's still throwing people out. But as far as offensively, nah. I mean, dude, you know, Rojas has got a higher average than JT Realmuto. Let that sink in for a second.
That's true.
This is a kid. I feel like he's probably been, if you're talking about a comeback player for the Phillies, it's been Johan Rojas.
Yeah.
And he's only had limited time to do this because he's splitting time now with Brandon Marsh. So, you know, to me, I think the Phillies are going to be okay. I think Harper will get into the one thing, when he starts out like this, it's been shown that he goes on a tear. And if he goes on a tear, man, like, it's coming. You know what I mean? I just, you know, for me, there's some teams that I got to see them go head-to-head with and start getting the upper hand in. Like, you know, they got the Mets coming in June. Actually, it's right around my birthday. It's the weekend of my birthday. I got to see them take 2 or 3 from the Mets. Like, they got to go and send a message to the Mets like, no, this isn't last year's team. Because if you look at it, so far against the top tier teams in the National League, the Phillies are 8-7 right now. You know what I mean? They took care of the Dodgers. They split with the Giants. They haven't played the Padres yet. And they took 2 or 3 from Arizona before losing, you know, 3 straight to the Mets.
Right.
You know, and they lost 2 or 3 to the Braves, which, by the way, the Braves are kind of creeping back too. So, I mean, I think they're going to have something to do with this division before it's all said and done. But the $330 million man got to start producing.
I agree.
So would you sit Bryce down in order to get maybe his head right? in order to.
I would take him out of the field. Let him DH for a day. You know what I mean? Let him DH for a day. Tell Kyle Schwarber, listen, dude, you're getting a day off. Take Schwarber out of the lineup. Put Harper in as the DH and put Weston Wilson at first base. Or if you want to get really kind of creative, you can move Alec Bohm to first base, put Edmundo Sosa at third.
Yeah.
You know.
This is an interesting piece for me. Like, I agree with you with the JT Realmuto, but the catcher's position right now has really struggled at the plate. Marchand's not really impressing me as much as people thought he was going to impress me. I can't tell whether Aaron Nola just doesn't like JT Realmuto because he just feels like he never lets JT catch for him. The idea that JT feels like he's pressing at the plate, where he's, waiting for the pitcher to kind of bail him out versus actually taking advantage of a pitch. And like, that's the difference, is you can't wait around for the pitcher to just groove one for you. You kind of have to take the at bat as it's given to you. So yeah, I mean, I agree. The two biggest, I guess, low spots for this lineup as of late has been Harper and JT. Now, Castellanos, he's streaky enough where I can give him a pass. He had a 3-run home run a couple days ago. There's a guy that I feel like when Nick gets on a tear with home runs, he's as good as anyone in the league.
He is.
But
he is.
You have to see it. You have to see it. And that's where I agree with you in the sense that he's very streaky. He's very Rhys Hoskins, if to kind of go back to a comparable. He can be the guy that lights the world on fire, or he could be the guy that just feels like the coal miner.
Yeah, little sidebar. Speaking of Rhys, man, you hear they're not really kind of liking him out in Milwaukee here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, he's had a rough start to his season out there. I watch a lot of Chris Rose, and he's a good follow, especially for like the goings on in MLB. And I usually chop in on his YouTube and just listen with some of the stuff that they're talking about. And apparently, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move Rhys during the deadline as well. You might see him get moved. He's in the last year of his deal there, so he only signed a 2-year deal there. So he could be on his way out. But
well, let me ask you, like, since we're having I mean, obviously it'll be a little bit crazy with Trey Harper for Hoskins, but would you take a flyer on him, like bringing him back if the time came for it?
But here's the thing: the only time I think you would make a move, I think, for Hoskins to come back here would be if something happened to Kyle Schwarber, and then you could stick him at DH. The only way I could see them doing that is if something were to happen to Castellanos in right field, because then you can move Harper back to right field. Right. You know what I mean? You can move him out to right field. You can make the trade for Hoskins, bring him back, put him at first, and then, if something were to happen to either one of those two guys. But other than that, like, where would you put Hoskins really on this team? Like, he can't play left field. He's not going to play left field. You know what I mean? He's already proven he can't play out there. He's not going to go to right. So, I mean, basically, it's either first base or DH. And right now, the Phillies have those two kind of covered. That's why he didn't get brought back. There just wasn't a spot for him on this team. And, so, I mean, the only way I could see them kicking the tires on a reunion with him would be if Castellanos or Kyle Schwarber is, like, out for the year. You know what I mean? Then you could bring him in and then let him walk as a free agent at the end of the year.
That was the unfortunate thing, is when Rhys went down with that injury and Bryce came back and wound up playing first base, when as well as Bryce picked it up, like a duck to water over there on first base, that was basically the
writing on the wall.
Yeah, for Rhys Hoskins. I mean, he knew, okay, I'm done. So I'm done here at least. So let's turn the page to pitching. So we have a couple interesting pitching stories to kind of review here. We talked a little bit about Aaron Nola, but let's talk a little bit about another starting pitcher that doesn't seem to be quite himself lately, and that's
Hmm.
Zach Wheeler.
Hmm.
Zach Wheeler has always been, since he's been in Philly pinstripe, an up top tier, maybe Cy Young candidate type pitcher. He's struggled a little bit this year. He's had some good outings as far as strikeouts, but he's still letting up some home runs. He's got a home run. He's let up a home run each of his starts this season. And so my question to you, Mike, is will the Cy Young Zach Wheeler come around at some point in this season?
I believe so, Joe. And if you take a look, it's all the top tier pitchers. It's not just Wheeler. You're looking for the Braves, like the guy who won the Cy Young last year, Chris Sale. He's getting lit up like a Roman candle this year. Look at some of the top tier pitchers that are in this game right now. They've all kind of started slow for some odd reason this year. That's how I say it's been a wacky beginning of the season for me that I'm taken into account, because to me, like, you just don't see the domination. Like, I mean, guys like Sonny Gray, who are kind of
Mhm.
mid-level pitchers, like even those guys are getting rocked. So
Mhm.
the offenses really came out, I think, swinging this year out of spring training, and just like I said, the who's who of pitching is like all of them have had bad starts. I mean, look at Tyler Glass now for the Dodgers. I mean, he had
Yeah.
a bad start here. You know what I mean? Look, like the Dodgers have the best record in baseball, but they got the best team in baseball. Like they have the best roster in baseball, and they're only a game up in their division. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how good that division is. I mean, we saw how the Giants were when they came to town. We split a 4-game series with them. Okay, we have yet to play San Diego, but they got a good team, good pitching staff. I mean, so to see, I like how the Phillies are built up. I think Wheeler will return to normal? Yes, I think this pitching rotation is going to become deadly as the season goes on.
James, I'll ask you. So, the speaking of that pitching rotation, Ranger Suarez has the ball today and had made his season debut this past week. 4 innings pitched. He struggled with a little bit of his command. Seemed like he kind of hit a cliff and then didn't kind of know how to recover. My question to you is: will we see a much improved Ranger Suarez going forward, or will it take a little bit more time for him to get his legs underneath him?
Uh, I mean, I think it will take more time. Obviously, I think. But I'm not gonna lie to you. The game he had on Sunday was a little bit concerning. This to see him, like, I mean, obviously he pitched a very good two thirds, but usually half the time, it's now starting to think about it now. I said, yeah, probably the reason why he started to struggle a little bit was because it was his first start, and he was still having his, like, getting a little bit of, like, jitters and stuff. But I think, I mean, it all is going to come down to, and I mean, obviously you can't judge a first game after being off for so long. I mean, obviously that's the most important thing. But I mean, the thing I'll be looking at this game here today, it's going to be like, okay, like, how long does Rangers sustain that success that he had of last week and try to continue it into this game, the coming up today against Cleveland? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a long season. It's a very, very long season. I think it's probably the most important thing is that if he can find a way to continue to sustain that, I think that's gonna be the biggest thing more than anything like that. But even more so with Zach Wheeler too, like what you guys were talking about and alluded to here. The thing that the one thing that struck to me was with Ranger Suarez too is that, yeah, I mean, yes, I mean he's having. I mean, hasn't pitched in a long time, and obviously, I mean, sometimes you have to find that groove about what you're trying to look like. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does here today. I mean, I'll be anxious to see what he looks like, and probably it'll be a good outing for him, and hopefully it will. But hopefully it'll be more feasible than it was last week, Joe.
Yeah, and so Mike, you brought it up earlier about Tywin Walker moving to the bullpen. I wrote an article last week for the Stream Punk Entertainment about Walker going to the bullpen and how I felt like going to the bullpen was potentially a mistake, but that if they were going to keep Walker for the season, moving him to the bullpen could only strengthen the bullpen. But if you were trying to move Tywin Walker, you would want to try and squeeze out at least 3 or 4 more good starts out of him. That way, you could give enough of a resume to the whole MLB on what you're selling them essentially. So my question to you, Mike, is: do you think Tywin Walker going to the bullpen is the Phillies' way of saying to Tywin that you are staying with us this season?
No, I don't. I think what it's going to do is the more outings he has coming out of the bullpen, like he had the other night, where he came in for 3 innings and had, he faced 9 batters and struck out 7. So he has more outings like that. His stock is going to go up, and
Mhm.
this is why I said it's kind of fool's gold because I want him to keep going out there and doing what he's doing because that's only going to raise his capital for when he gets traded. Because now he can go middle relief, but he can also start. So if he goes to a team like, St. Louis, he can hopefully become a starter on St. Louis and go every 5 days. You know what I mean? The biggest thing is this is the last year of that contract. So the Phillies are just offloading that contract. Basically, it's kind of a swap, really. Like if they put him in a trade for Halsey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to me, I want him to keep doing well. I personally, I think before the end of the year, I think Ranger Suarez is going to be coming out of the pen.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
really do. I think Andrew Painter is going to supplant him in the starting rotation.
I
Mm.
agree. I think he will, and that's one of the reasons why with Tywin, I'm curious. Like if he starts to have more and more success in the bullpen, do the Phillies get, are the Phillies going to get jittery about like trying to trade that piece away because, he's, solidifying that bullpen. Now, I do believe that if you replaced Tywin Walker with Ranger Suarez in the bullpen once Andrew Painter comes up, then I think that might give the Phillies more license to trade Walker, especially if they can get better at the back end of their bullpen, as well as potentially get I power right-handed at bat. And
Yeah.
that's, with Nolan Arenado. I mean, look, if you told me at the beginning of the season, you have to give up Alec Baum, Tylan Walker, and a mid-level prospect for Nolan Arenado and Halsey from St. Louis, would you do it? And I would tell you, abso-freaking-lutely.
Well, I
Right.
don't. I don't think it was just one, Joey. I think it was a couple, but they were a
Right.
couple mid. Like, and this is what Chris. This is when I was watching. Um, I was watching Chris Rose. This is where I kind of heard it from. Was on his pod. He had somebody on. He had an insider on, and that guy said keep watch for Halsey and Arenado to go to the Phillies. He said, and the Phillies are not going to give up their top. There's no Painter.
Right.
I think it's Painter, Miller, and Crawford were off the Phillies have already let them know like they are not available.
Yeah.
So
Right.
anybody else after that, you figure you got Mick Abel, who's up there. He's not doing half bad. I would like to see them bring him up. Like there's about 4 guys I would love to see the Phillies bring up right now.
Right.
From Lehigh Valley, that would
Yeah.
help this team. I think Crawford's going to be up probably. Around maybe even after the All Star break. I think if Otto Kemp keeps playing the way he's playing, they got to bring him up. They got to bring him up.
Mhm.
I
This
mean,
kid,
that's the thing. Is there a new class for the daycare? Like, like
Right.
that's the curiosity is will there be a youth resurgence? And when you have guys like Harper and Turner that are on like these amazingly long deals, you still have Castellanos with 2 years and Schwarber on his last year as well as JT Realmuto. You do have a potential for a turnover.
Mhm.
And it could be very seamless
let
if
me ask you a
Dombrowski plays
question.
his cards right.
Let me ask you a question. this is something that we haven't thought about.
Hmm.
But with Marshawn being up here, do the Phillies have the gall to move on from Real Muto this summer and trade him? He's in the walk year of his contract.
That's a good question.
You know what I mean? Like, again, if he's not doing it with the bat, and I'm sorry, I think Marshawn's got just as good as arm as JT. I do. I think he does. I think the kid's he's got a strong arm just like JT does. You know, again, JT's going to be a guy really without a position. They're talking about moving JT Realmuto to first base. Okay, well, if you're going to move him to first base, that means you're moving Harper back out to right field, which means you're getting rid of Castellanos.
Right.
So then I beg the question, who's going to be your backup catcher?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
There you go.
That I don't know. But, I mean, they have Stubbs sitting down in the minor league. So, I mean, they can always bring him back up to be the backup. But, I mean, would it really – I mean, if you think about it, if JT's struggling, you know, they could move on from him this year. You know what I mean? And try to get some – listen, if you could trade JT Realmuto to get a bullpen arm, that's going to solidify your bullpen?
Well, let's keep something in mind. The Phillies usually, when in their history, their track record, when it comes down to catchers that age, the only one that they kept in their old age was Carlos Ruiz, with good reason. But, you know, when you look at Mike Lieberthal, Darren Dalton, like those guys, once they hit that mid-tier of 30, the Phillies kind of decided that it was time to move on. And
I'll disagree with you on the Dalton one. Like the Dalton one.
Well, he went to the Marlins.
Right, but that was his last year. His last year in the league is when he went to the Marlins. He went to the Marlins. He went to the Marlins. They said, "Look, Dutch, we can get a trade package for you. We're going to trade you to Florida. Florida right now is World Series bound. Do you want to go?" And Dutch was like, "You know what? Yeah." But I mean, he spent all from 83 to 97.
Yeah.
He was a Philly. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't – that's not something – like they didn't get rid of him and he won and had, you know, all these great years after that. I think he played maybe 1, maybe 2 more years after that. And then he was done. Lieberthal, like – I don't remember really hearing about Mike Lieberthal after his Phillies career.
Well, yeah. But Lieberthal went and like that's the thing is like the catchers once they hit that mid-30 mark, they start to kind of fall off an edge. And it doesn't matter if it's the Phillies, but the Phillies are the ones that are dealing with that currently. And so you have to start to ask yourself, and this is why the trading of Ohapi was so contentious, because Ohapi would have been the heir apparent to JT.
Ohapi kind of fell into the Ryan Howard rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got stuck behind somebody that was still in his prime. So, I mean, Matty B loves to kill that trade all the time. But, like, really, what are you going to do? You can't leave a guy sit down there. Okay, so they traded him over for Brandon Marsh. Okay.
Well, you know who I'd like for them to potentially try and get, because, you know, Nola likes to pitch to other catchers than the starting catcher. I like for them to go get his brother. I like to go get Austin Nola.
Hey,
that's true.
Hey,
that's true.
Listen, that very well may happen, Joey. But like, I don't know, the way I'm seeing this thing with the Phillies is there's a lot of areas where they could go with this upcoming trade deadline. But the team that they have right now, you know, I think they're just going to get better. They're playing with a confidence, and as long as they keep winning 2 out of 3 games out of a series and keep winning series, you know, a lot of people were looking bleak. You know, 3 weeks ago they were 5 games behind the Mets. Now what are they? What are they? A game and a half behind them now?
Yes.
Or maybe 2 after
2.
2 because I think the Mets won yesterday.
Yeah.
But they're 2 games. So I mean, you know,
I'm glad you bring that up, Mike. That's a great segue for my next question, which is, are the Mets just a hot team now, or are they a legit team now?
No. I'm never sold on the Mets. And I'm glad that they're winning right now, because you know what that tells me? They're going to nosedive in the second half. They're nosediving. Like I'm so sick of this Mets. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Listen, you know what's really funny? The Phillies match up well with all the other powerhouses in the National League. They do. They match up well with the Braves. Them and the Braves always, like, if the Braves win the series, it's like by one game, maybe two. The Dodgers, they match up well with the Dodgers. They obviously they playing 500 ball right now against San Francisco. See, they took 2 out of 3 from Arizona. This Mets team, dude, like they're at 25 wins right now, and I'll give them their due. But what I'm saying to you is the Mets are always going to Met. Like, there's a reason why they haven't won a World Series since '86.
Well, before we move along, I wanted to just say to everyone, okay, if you want to go see the Fighting Phils play either the Mets in late June, maybe Mike, you want to go get yourself tickets for that birthday series. We have a great sponsor where you can purchase your tickets for a great discounted price. Tell them more about it, James.
Yeah, Joe, today's show is sponsored by our friends over at GameTime.co, excuse me. Calling all Phillies fans, need tickets last minute, don't worry. GameTime.co has got you covered for all your Phillies tickets and so much more. You can check out your seat view before you buy and also can snag on great discounts along the way and so much more at GameTime.co. But like always, remember to scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen, right next to Schwarb's at the bottom of your screen, and visit them online at GameTime.co. That's at GameTime.co, and let's go, Phils.
So let's move along to our Philadelphia Eagles, the world champions of football.
Never gets old.
Never gets old to say that. I gotta ask. So the restructure of Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert's been on the tip of everybody's tongue for the last 2 months for the Philadelphia Eagles. This past week, they restructured his contract. I don't have the contract information up in front of me, but the idea that this was a sign to Dallas Goedert and to the Eagles that they were going to Dallas Goedert for the foreseeable future, and especially for this season. My question to you guys is, was this a way for the Eagles to kind of strong arm Dallas Goedert to do this restructure, or was this a matter of the Eagles could not find the right trade partner for Dallas Goedert? Mike, I'll ask you that question.
I don't think it was either. I think he wanted to be here. Howie came to him and said, listen, we can't keep you at $14 million. We're going to have to release you. Come up with a number that we could kind of work with. And they kind of work with it. Now, question, were they probably trying to call and get a trade partner for Dallas? Oh, I'm sure they were listening. But ultimately, this shows me here that the Eagles really wanted to keep Dallas Goedert, that they didn't really want to trade him. And I could tell that by the guys they picked up. You know what I mean? Because there was other mentions of trade partners. Like the Eagles were very highly connected to, what's his name, Mayer, Michael Mayer, the kid that was at Notre Dame and now plays for the Raiders. They were linked to him all offseason. That was like a for sure thing, like how he was going to trade with the Raiders to bring him in because of the ongoing situation with Goedert. To me, it just seemed like Goedert wanted to be here. The Eagles wanted him here, and they said, okay, we can't pay you this. Let's try to get to where we can both agree and be happy where it works for you and it works for me. And Dallas took a pay cut, but he took a pay cut to try to run it back and win another title.
James, I'll ask you the same question. Do you think that this deal, this restructure, do you think that this was a means for Dallas just to hold on to this team? Or was this just a means of Howie not being able to find the right trading partner and kind of, strong arming Dallas into taking a pay cut?
I thought about this a lot when Dallas Goedert got restructured here. I always thought that if Dallas Goedert was going to go, obviously, I wasn't going to be disappointed about if he was going to, it's weird because the thing about it too is that you know what the funniest thing is about this too is that with Goedert, I'm actually glad he's coming back because you would have thought if you would have traded away Goedert or even let him or even cut him, there wasn't a lot of there was not a lot of tight ends in the draft that you would have drafted to try to replace him. I mean, yeah, there was like a Colston Loveland, and there was another players. The list goes on and on about that too, like a Tyler Warren. But the Eagles were the 31st or 32nd overall pick at the time, and I don't think they were. I mean, if they like fell in the lap of the Eagles, that would have been fantastic, you know. But I think the reason why they brought back Goddard is because they know like what he's capable of, and they all know what his level of success is, and I think that's going to be the most important thing here too. But the question is going to be more than anything is that can he be fully healthy for a full 17 game season? That's going to be the most important thing. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's back. I mean, how he continued to cook in the offseason, that's going to be the most important thing. But, I mean, him getting restructured, it wasn't like a shock, but actually I kind of saw it coming, gonna admit, because at the same time I mean, like who else is out there that you could replace Dallas Goedert to begin with? I mean, I'm not. I mean, even we alluded to on Fly Like an Eagle a couple weeks ago, Grant Calcaterra. I mean, yeah, he's okay, but is he Dallas Goedert material? I mean, Zach Ertz wasn't out there. Obviously, he went back to Washington. So, yeah, I mean, I said Zach Ertz. Yeah, I mean, like restructuring them is it's a very good piece to have. But now the question is, could he be fully healthy for a full 17 game season? That's going to be the big key.
That's the interesting thing is, Grant Calcaterra is going to be a good receiving tight end,
For sure.
and Dallas Goddard's a good blocking tight end, especially with the way that things are structured on that offensive line. Now, the thing that I would say is that the way that the draft shook out, the board didn't fall in Howie's way when it comes down to drafting a tight end, but
Mm-hmm.
therefore, because so many people's draft boards did fall their way, they were able to get tight ends. So then the market for trading Dallas Goddard even after the draft, that well kind of dried up. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think then that at that point, Howie basically said, look, you don't got a place to go. If we release you and you sit on the free agency, you can go and you can test free agency. Now, from what I heard reports, he had permission to talk to other teams.
Mm-hmm.
And other teams did not express the type of interest or the level of interest that he or his agent expected to hear. So, in some ways, I think Dallas kind of was frustrated with the fact that not only where there was there only one option at his disposal to be a Philadelphia Eagle, but that the Eagles were going to ask him to take a pay cut. And
Right.
look, I agree with Mike. You're running it back with a world champion. You're running it back with an offense that really hasn't lost much at anything at all. This is a team that right now is primed to go back and compete for another Super Bowl trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you just take a little less money to still stay on as the fifth possible option on that offensive team? It makes all the sense in the world.
And that's the
But
thing too.
but to kind of move into one of the primary sources of offense, the biggest concern are Mr. Penn Stater, Saquon Barkley, has been kind of partying it up and celebrating it out since he's won the Super Bowl with Timothy Chalamet, amongst all people, going to the Met Gala, going all over the place. My question to you guys is, are you going to be concerned about what Saquon is going to bring to camp and what he's going to bring to season, knowing what he had run last season and the production he put out last season? Do you expect there to be for this coming season to be a down year for Saquon Barkley? Mike, I'll start with you.
As far as number wise, yeah, I think it's going to be a down year. You want to know why? Because the Eagles went out and signed AJ Dillon. Like they
Mm.
brought AJ Dillon in here to give Barkley a breather. So that's the case in point. And as far as him going everywhere, dude, it's the offseason. He can
It
do
is.
whatever he wants. I could care less. If he wants to travel the world, if he wants to party down in South Beach, that's his prerogative.
Mhm.
This is his off season. He's got to do whatever he's got to do to relax, get his body right. If he's out doing his thing, that's his thing. As long as he shows up ready to play ball, which I know from watching Saquon Barkley since his freshman year at Penn State, that guy's going to be ready to play. Now, will he get 2,000 yards again? I don't know, but I love the fact that this Eagles team went out and signed an A.J. Dillon. I love it. You want to talk about this isn't thunder and lightning with him and Saquon Barkley. It's thunder and thunder.
Right.
Squad.
Yes, they are basically telling the whole NFC East, you better bulk up on your defensive line because we're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to run the ball, and I love it. I mean, and they're even talking about the new kid, Ty Robinson. They're talking about him and Ben. Was it Ben? Ben Summerin. Ben Summerin's he is literally going to be the fullback on this team. He's not a backer no more. He's not a linebacker. He's literally going to be the full-time fullback on this Eagles team. The Eagles are trying to bring back the fullback. I love it. I love it. I want to see him. I hope he gets number 44 and he just starts plowing the way, man. Like, I am so pumped for this. But like I said, this is why they went out and got an A.J. Dillon. And they got A.J. Dillon cheap. And if you remember, A.J. Dillon's a load. He's a load. A.J. Dillon behind this offensive line? Are you kidding me?
Oh, my God.
If you are a defensive coordinator right now, think about this. You got to deal with Jalen Hurts running the ball, being led blocked by having a lead blocker, Ben Van Summerin, okay? Then behind him, you got Saquon Barkley or A.J. Dillon. Dude, that is 2,000 pounds of pure whoop ass coming at your defensive line. Like, they are literally – the Eagles are playing bully ball. They are just going to come and just boom. That's it.
Now, I want to bring up something you brought up, and I want you to kind of rewind and backtrack because I know where you were going with it, and you kind of went back onto the Van Summerin. Trey Williams, the guy the rookie D tackle that we picked up. Here's what I heard. This guy played fullback.
He did.
James, this is a guy that is a beast of a man on the defensive line.
Wow.
You put him on the idea that he can play fullback, I don't think you're going to be able to see Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's just another offensive lineman basically lining up in the backfield. You're giving him a running start. They call him the Dancing Bear.
Joey, I know I wasn't going to say, did you see the highlights? Because obviously I know you didn't, but did you hear the highlights of him being in the backfield?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
At Nebraska, they show a couple plays of him in the backfield. Like, literally, like, I'm watching this guy take a defensive end. He's picking a defensive end up and dragging him 4 yards deep into the end zone. Like this, and he basically told Sirianni, "You need me to play fullback. I don't care. I'll play." Like, I think this kid, he is the most underrated signing, I think, in this draft. I got mixed feelings about Jahad Campbell. You know, he could be really, really great. He could also be a first-round bust. So I'm a little kind of iffy on that. But if you take a look at what the Eagles did, dude, for the first time since 1979, the Eagles went and took a linebacker with their first pick.
Yep.
That's out of the norm for Howie.
I
out of the norm for the Eagles, too.
So you guys are going to have to remind me, the guy that is a two-way player that the Jags picked with the second pick.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
He's quote-unquote a two-way player. I think it's more feasible, and people are questioning whether he can do that on a full-time basis on both fronts. Trey seems like he could do it with the positions that we're kind of assigning him, because Van Summerin's the fullback, but if we plop Trey in for short yardage, he could definitely play two-way, I believe. And so it's more feasible for Trey to be a two-way player, I think, than someone like Travis Hunter.
No, I'm going to disagree with you. And I'm not taking away from Trey, but you better remember something. Travis Hunter has been playing two ways for the last 3 years at the University of Colorado. He's been playing two ways. Now, will that transpire over? Now he's being paid to play football. Like, he's not doing it for a university. So he's going to – I don't think they're going to allow him to – play both, because the more exposure on the field he has, the more chances he has of getting hurt. So they're going to take whatever he does best and do. And I think he's a better receiver than he is a cornerback. He's a solid corner. Like, he could make it in the NFL as a corner. But what I'm telling you is he's a much better wide receiver. So, and when you're getting paid millions of dollars, like, you don't tell the coach, like, they tell you, this is where we need you. You're going to play here. We don't need we already got somebody playing cornerback. So, and I think if you look at it, I think the Jags could be really explosive this year. You know, with Thomas on one side, the rookie they had from last year, and now Travis Hunter. Like, I think there's going to be a flipping of the guards. Like, a lot of these people this year are kind of like, I'm looking at these power rankings, and like, I think power rankings in the month of May are just, I don't know. I'm sorry, asinine. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Because, okay, I know the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and you're going to put the Eagles number one, and I know that's my team. But to be honest with you, like, I don't think there should be any power rankings about just because the Eagles won the Super Bowl in February. Yeah. Like, you know, even after free agency and what they did to the teams, you could speculate, but to put out power rankings, like, come on, dude, they haven't at least, you know,
laced them up.
Little FYI for you guys. I don't know if you guys heard, there's been a leak of the NFL games over in Europe this year. It's the Jaguars. They're hosting, I believe. Well, yeah, they're playing in London. They're hosting the Rams. The Jets are hosting, I believe it's Minnesota, and the Browns are hosting. I think it's the Browns are hosting Minnesota, and I'm trying to remember who the Jets were. It was leaked yesterday. I saw it, but I know the best game out of that was probably the Rams and the Jags. But
that's basically a home game at this point for the Jaguars. The Jaguars might be
every single year
in Jaguars at this point.
Well, listen, that may happen. Duval may lose their team at one point in time.
But
I don't know how they're gonna do it with that, with time zones and stuff.
Speaking of leaks and the upcoming schedule will be released this week. My question to you guys, Mike, I'll start with you. We brought it up on Fly Like an Eagle last night. Which team would you rather see the Eagles kick the season off with on Thursday Night Football?
The Dallas Cowboys.
I don't feel you want to say that, man.
No, you know why? Because there's been a lot of talk out of Dallas. Okay, their number one draft pick's talking about how he's going to come here and shut up, Jalen Carter. Let's get it on the road real quick. Come here, watch us drop this banner. Because if you remember a couple years ago, Dallas decided to do a little. They brought back all their legends and all that other junk when they played the Eagles. Remember? And
I do remember that, man.
And they kind of blew the Eagles out. And at the end of that game, they paid an homage to the old Cowboys when they had the whole offensive line stand up and drop back down. Yeah, it's time for them to take their medicine on that. I want to see Dallas come here. And I don't care who comes here opening night. That atmosphere, the way this team is, they are not beating the Eagles in here that night. And what better way than to let Dallas know that they're not even in our class this year than to whoop their ass on national TV in front of the world. And just to let them know you're still behind us. Sends a message, man. Point blank. I either want them or the Commanders. Them two. I don't care less about Detroit. You got to come here. Like, I don't think Detroit did enough for me. You got knocked out by the Commanders. Like, you ain't got no reason to talk about who you want to play. Yeah. Sit back, shut up, and get your schedule.
So, James, I'm going to ask you, who would you rather see come to Philadelphia on that Thursday night game?
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this too when they get closer and closer. I said, Washington might be one of those games because you think about the NFC Championship game, and that might be a preview of it. And then I see Detroit-wise, and I say to myself, does anybody want to see Detroit again this will be like a prove it or shut up year for Detroit to see the come into Philadelphia try to shock the world. But I started to think about this too. I said, maybe Detroit will be one of those Fox games, those 425 games, probably closer to the end of the year. So if I have to pick one, I would love to have Washington, and like you, even Mike, even you said it, Dallas too. But if I had to pick a name in the hat, I gotta go with either Detroit or maybe Washington.
I feel like I want this to be a game that not only matters, but that, like Mike said, will like blow the roof off the place. And I want Kansas City. I want Kansas City to come here and watch us drop that banner and tell them you're not as good as you think you are anymore.
Unfortunately, Joe, that's not a home game. That's a road game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
the Eagles' road schedule is brutal, dude. Like they got to go to Buffalo. They have they're at Kansas City. Like their road schedule is just probably the most brutal that I can remember.
Well,
I'll bring it up for you. Hold on. You guys go ahead. I'll bring it up.
I'll throw another team out there. The Rams. The Rams might be a team that I feel like, because of how that NFC divisional round went, the snowball, like that might be an interesting concept. I don't think Detroit's going to be as good as they were once before. I think they're going to have the roster and the talent and the skill, but we here in Philly know all about when you lose the defensive and offensive coordinator. It is not an easy thing to kind of rebound off of. So it's interesting.
Joe, I got their road schedule for this year.
Okay.
Their road schedule, you have your 3 divisionals, right?
Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
They're at Green Bay, at Minnesota, at Tampa, at Kansas City, at the Chargers, and at Buffalo. That's their road schedule. Their home schedule for this year, 3 divisionals: Chicago, Detroit, LA, the Broncos, and the Raiders.
Yeah, I like the Rams. Let's run back the divisional round.
You know what? That's not bad, but you know what? The rumor I've been hearing, believe it or not, I'm hearing that they might open up against the Bears. Like
Ben
Williams.
The coach from the Lions.
Ben something. Ben Johnson.
Thank you, Ben Johnson. So I could see that. I think we would bury the Bears where they stand. But you'd be walking into a sure firestorm.
You know what? I think that would be a really good game. I really do. I think the Bears have gotten a lot better.
I believe they've gotten better. I just think they're still not where they're not there yet.
They're not where the Eagles are, but they're going to surprise a few people this year. Like I'm even though Minnesota had a good year last year, I think they're going to take a step back because they don't have what's his face? They don't have Sam Darnold cornerback on this year. They got J.J. McCarthy, which is technically going to be his rookie season. So you're getting back there with a rookie quarterback. Okay, I'm not seeing. I see them going back. I think Detroit's going to take. I think they're going to stumble back too. They're going to find out that losing your offensive defensive coordinator, how real that is.
Yep,
that's going to be.
We know how real that is.
I think that's going to take a step back, and I think the Bears are going to be right there for the pickings. I will say this: there's 2 games that I'm actually want to physically go to, all depending on the time of the year. I am definitely going to the Tampa Bay game in Tampa. My cousins live in Florida. They're actually going to grab the tickets. I'm flying down, and we're all going to meet up in Tampa, and we're all going to go to that game. But my wife, as you know, is a Packers fan. I want to take her to Lambeau. But I told her if it's any time past the middle of October, we're not going.
Yeah,
so
because it'll be like 20 degrees out there with snow on the ground.
Yes,
Minus
exactly.
20.
Yeah. So I said, as long as it's not a Sunday night or a Monday night where I can take a couple days off from work and go out there. But yeah, I want to go there. I want to experience Lambeau. They're the 2 places if I can get to this year, I'm definitely going to get to.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on, I wanted to let everybody know that we have a great sponsor. If you want to get any of your Eagles championship gear or any of your Philadelphia Phillies gear or any gear whatsoever, we have a great sponsor in Rally House. James, tell them more about it.
Yeah, Joe, today's show is also sponsored by our friends over at RallyHouse.com. Hey, Philly Fanatics, RallyHouse.com has your destination for all things championship merchandise, from jerseys to hats. Don't worry, they got you covered for all the seasons around and got you covered just in time for game day. And now you can pick up your gear and get it delivered fast. And also remember, you can scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen and right next to Bryce Harper, where we talked about the Phillies earlier, and a proud sponsor to the Philadelphia Phillies and the Philadelphia Eagles, or I should say, defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. That's at rallyhouse.com. That or on in their locations, or visit them online at rallyhouse.com today.
So we're moving quickly through to the 76ers, and
Oh,
many
God.
people might be like,
Why?
why?
Yeah, really. Why?
We have the draft lottery coming up for the
Oh,
Philadelphia
my God.
76ers on Monday.
So
you can just skip through that and just like talk about Mitchkov getting ripped off for the Rookie of the Year. To just
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So with the Philadelphia 76ers,
I guess this is the witching hour. I guess.
yeah, well, with the Philadelphia 76ers, the NBA draft lottery is Monday. The
God.
Sixers have the possibility of getting the 6th pick in the draft or better. Now, my question to you, Mike Lauro, is do you feel like like James alluded to earlier, we already had one Philadelphia team that got ripped off of a draft lottery. Will the Sixers be the second team ripped off by the draft lottery in less than a month?
I don't know, and I don't care. Did they trade Embiid yet? Like, I've been calling for this for like 3 years. Like, can we now get rid of him? Like, this is Joe and James. You guys were a couple of the guys that came at me for what I
know.
said.
I was wrong. I was wrong too. I was wrong too, brother.
Where are we at? We are at the point of no return with Joel Embiid. Okay, this dude. I'm sorry, he is the Tin Man. He's got no heart. I don't want to hear. I keep having the arguments with the same guys with he's a generational talent. No, generational talents put teams on their back. Generational talents don't end up on the street clothes on the bench.
Right.
So here's what I'll say. We'll jump into the Embiid. That was my next question, but the idea with Joel Embiid, there's been a trade rumor. There have been a couple trade rumors with Joel Embiid in the last, 6-7 months. Because no one else has cared about whether Joel Embiid plays or doesn't, because he pretty much doesn't. The latest rumor comes out of Los Angeles. The idea of him possibly being traded to the LA Lakers was announced on a podcast this past week. And the interesting thing is, they would say, I already know the answer to this, but would you take all the expiring contracts for the LA Lakers and 2 first-round picks for Joel Embiid?
See ya. I'm sorry, but dude, this is where the Sixers and this is why I don't like Daryl Morey. He's an idiot. Okay, he is a stone cold idiot. You had this dude 2 years ago. He was the MVP of the league. You could have traded him to the Lakers then. Okay, because they were looking to get rid of Anthony Davis. Okay, you could have traded him to the Lakers then. You would have gotten 4 first-round draft picks. It doesn't matter where they come from. You have 4 first-round draft picks. This stiff would have been playing in LA, doing the same thing he's doing here. And what? The Sixers could have started rebuilding around Maxey. Now they're only down to getting 2. The Sixers could have gotten whatever they wanted for him. He was the reigning MVP. And they choose to sit on this dude. And I kept saying, this is the biggest mistake ever. This is the best time to get rid of him. And everybody looked at me like I was nuts. I stood on this hill by myself with this. And so now what's going to happen? I would take the expiring contracts. Hell yeah. Because then guess what? Your books are clear. And you also get Embiid's money that he just re-signed for. That they come off your books too. Now it goes on LA. So, do that. Get rid of his ass. You're not going to get... The longer he's a Sixer, the worse compensation you're going to get for him.
So here's my thing: is I'm with you on more than one front on that in that regard. The thing that I would go about saying is this: the idea that even if you did that deal, even if Daryl Morey tomorrow did that deal, which he can't, but even if he did that deal, in the beginning of the offseason, the idea that I think Daryl Morey would still screw it up. I think Daryl Morey has been the Pied Piper to this whole catastrophe. I know we can blame Joel Embiid. I know why we can blame Joel Embiid. But Daryl Morey's been the Pied Piper selling us a bag of goods that has been completely deficient in every kind of way. I'm sorry. When you bring in Doc Rivers and sell us that bag of goods and that falls flat, then you sell us on the Ben Simmons and that we're going to try to make the best of the situation. And then you're going to trade to go get James Harden as though he's the second coming of freaking Michael Jordan. Dude, he's been the Pied Piper
Oh
for
yeah,
this whole
how,
catastrophe.
and how about Harden? Harden lost another game 7.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Shocker
right.
there. Shocker
Yep.
there. So no, Morey's an idiot. Like they need, like I'm sorry, but down the Sixers from the ownership group on down, they need an enema. Like they just gotta wash it. They gotta flush it all. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of hoping that what's his face, the owner. I hope he sells the team
Josh
because
Harris.
Yeah.
yeah, I hope he sells the team because now if you take a look at it, he don't put much money into the Devils. Now he's not putting as much money into the Sixers because now he's owning the Commanders.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Right.
that's his big baby. Sell the damn team.
Right.
Let's get local ownership in here. Let's get some basketball people in here and clean house. And you know what? Joe, it's got to start with trading Embiid. They got to get rid of this dude. They're never going to win with him. I've been saying it for years. The dude, the only time he wants to try to play is when, there's another big name that's playing him or that's going with him for the MVP. He's not worried about championships.
Well,
He's not.
I agree with that, and here's the other part of this. So like Daryl Morey was on the Rights for Ricky Sanchez podcast with Spike Eskin, and he basically said, he feels as though Joel Embiid will, regardless of what he does going forward in his career, will go down as one of the greats to ever play this game. In 2-3 years ago, I would have argued with you, Mike, that is the absolute truth. Now, I don't know if I even put him in the top 100.
No.
God,
What has
no.
he won? What is this big illusion with friggin' Joel Embiid? He has not gotten past the second round. And he's had Jimmy Butler. He's had Ben Simmons. He's had James Harden. It's still the same thing. Everything else has been changed but him.
Yep.
Like, dude, I would sign Jimmy Butler today and
Yep.
bring him back here to team him up with Tyrese Maxey. That could be a hell of a backcourt.
You know what's funny? I think it was a long time ago. Someone said to me, like, maybe the problem is you, like, because you get rid of all like the players you even alluded to, like, and the thing that drives me crazy about this team, they had Jimmy Butler, they had James Harden, they like it's a full on basically a cover up bingo card of his injuries, and it's also a bingo card of how many players that he screwed over, like in many years. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing too, especially because I thought about this too. I said, maybe the reason why the Sixers are not successful like they are is probably because Joel Embiid is the one that's is the captain of the ship, and he keeps on hitting himself into the rock or the walls, or hitting himself into the walls or like the rocks and stuff. Just, I mean, it's unbelievable.
This goes back to his rookie campaign. Like, this goes back to when Embiid was drafted.
Yeah.
This organization coddled him. Yeah, you get whatever you want. Yeah, you get whatever you want. Anything you want, we'll give you. And
Sound familiar?
right. And Embiid took that. I mean, with understanding, he took it. But now he has abused that. He has abused that right, and here in Philadelphia, that just doesn't fly. We're about to transition into the Flyers, but Mike, this whole organization, from Daryl Morey to Embiid and everything in between, it feels like the Chuck Fletcher era.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it
God.
is.
It
It's
does.
the-
It does.
It's the Chuck Fletcher era with the basketball team. That's what this is. Like, I'm sorry, and I've been calling for, like Mike Kaepernick said, I've been calling for this trade for years. When we were all at EOP, how many times did I was alone on that hill? I had everybody calling me out, and I kept saying, "Where is the proof that this guy's a generational talent?" I said, "No, he's not. Michael Jordan's a generational talent. Shaquille O'Neal is a generational talent. Kobe Bryant is a generational talent. Those guys are those guys are generational talent. Steph Curry, generational talent."
Yeah.
You see whose name I'm leaving out of there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Because that person had to go link up with 2 other people to go win titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how he goes about it. So, yes, will Joel Embiid probably go to LA and win a title? Good for him. But he's got to go team up with somebody to do it. And to me, that's not somebody I want. And again, your best ability is availability. This dude gets hurt every year.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it coming now. Like, this is why I feel bad for a guy like Tyrese Maxey.
I agree.
You need to get him off. You need to get him off of this team. And there's other big men that you can put in there that are going to give you, they'll play a full season and probably give you just as many points as Joel Embiid will playing the seasons that he played.
To be fair, Yabusele played out of his mind.
She did.
And he's a quarter of the talent as Joel Embiid, but he still played out of his mind. And he was available, and he was more than serviceable. And that is the difference, is that I get it. We want to still have this affinity for what Joel, it's the idea that we signed the contract with Joel Embiid as fans. And then what our expectations were of what he was supposed to bring and what he was supposed to deliver to this team, to this fan base, just never happened. So we feel shortchanged. And so we should feel shortchanged. But the idea that, none of this is going to go forward, whether we have the 6th pick in the draft or whether we had the 1st pick in the draft and get Cooper Flagg. This doesn't change until the people that are creating this atmosphere are gone. We said that with Chuck Fletcher. We are now have to say that with Daryl Morey. We just have to.
Yeah, he's got to go. Like, I'm talking from ownership on down. They all got to go. Like when I say the Sixers need an enema, they need an enema from the top down. Like, that's it. Just flush it, because they're not. I don't trust Daryl Morey. I trust him about as much as I trusted Chuck Fletcher. Like, I didn't trust him. I thought he was a buffoon, and I think Daryl Morey's a buffoon. He hasn't. What did Daryl Morey ever do? When he was in Houston, his teams got to the 2nd round and faded out. Oh, so let's bring him in here to see if he can change it. I think maybe one of his teams might have gotten to a Western Conference final, something like that. Like, come on, give me a break with this dude. He's been here. He's had time. It's done, Joe. Like, I agree with you. It's got to be flushed from the top down. James, let's move on to our favorite topic here.
Yeah,
damn right. Let's
move on to the Philadelphia Flyers.
Giddy up.
And let's get some puck talk going. So the Philadelphia Flyers did not win the NHL draft lottery.
Shocker.
But
sadly.
Shocker. They still have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
So my question to you, Mike, is, okay, do you take those picks and try and trade up to get, potentially to like Chicago or to whoever? Is it worth trading up from where you are right now if you're the Philadelphia Flyers?
No, because they can still get a top line centerman at 6. But I mean, if anybody thought for a second that the Flyers were going to get the number 1 pick, no, the NHL don't like the Flyers like that. And I'm sorry. To me, I don't care what anybody says. When ping pong balls are involved, it's all BS. Like, it's not a crapshoot. Okay. To me, those ping pong balls they already have the draft order of who they want. And guess what? The Islanders, they're in a new building. They got the number 1 overall pick. And sadly, like, I believe in Chicago, like 2nd or 3rd. So
something like that.
So shocker, Chicago just had number 1 last 2 years ago for Connor Bedard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me a break, dude. Like, there's certain areas, there's certain teams that they want to build up. I mean, God, how many times did Pittsburgh how many times did they luck out? They got Lemieux and Crosby. Like, give me a break. The Flyers can never catch a break in getting somewhere up top there. So, I kind of just looked at it. As long as I felt like they were from like 8 on down, I thought they could get somebody who can come in and help them right away. And I
Yeah.
think they can. The Flyers need they need centermen. They got a bunch of wings, no centermen, and and they also need they need goaltending. Now, they need everything, dude. Like really, like me and Matty B were talking about this over on our network. Just sitting back in the green room, we were talking about this. They have a lot of holes that they got to get filled. But first and foremost, like them moving up, I'm trusting the process of what they're doing. Like Keith Jones, and here's the thing. Now you want somebody who's coming out and being honest. Briere and Jones came out and were honest. We're like, look, we got to tear this thing down.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be some players that I think that are getting moved. Like, look, they moved off of Sean Walker, which I felt like, to be honest with you, I know they got a first round pick for him, but I would have found a way to keep that dude because he was a glue. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think his contract is up after this season with the Avalanche. Don't be surprised if you see the Flyers try to make a run for him to reunite Walker and Sealer on that back end.
Ooh, I would like that.
So you can definitely see that. And another thing, too, is they got rid of Lawton. Finally, after all these years, they got rid of Lawton. Lawton's, he's doing his thing. They traded him to his hometown team. So I like the moves that they're making. And I'm liking the fact that we do have a young line in there. Me personally, I wouldn't have gotten rid of Morgan Frost. If you wanted to get rid of, the other guy that was part of that trade.
Joe Farabee.
Farabee. You want to get rid of Farabee, that's fine. But I wouldn't have got rid of Morgan Frost. Again, that was, to me, I think that's going to come back to bite him in the butt a little bit. Because they didn't even have the guy that they traded. They kept, what's his name, Peltier. They kept
Peltier. And they got rid of Kuzmenko.
Yeah, they got rid of Kuzmenko. So Kuzmenko was just a turn and flip. So you got rid of 2 of your young players for Peltier. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the Flyers were cutting. They're getting rid of these bad contracts. You got to give them a chance to do that. And I think them, like you said, Joe, them having 7 picks in the top 2 rounds, they could possibly try to move up. But I mean, you would have to really see like who's in front of them and who needs what. I would take an extra, first round pick and package it and say, look, we're going to give you these 2 for this. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
I mean, do you think that Briere actually drafts 7 players with those 7 picks, or do you think he tries to get more? He gets more quality than quantity.
Oh yeah, I think he could do that. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they got 5 players with the 7 drafts. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's what he's trying to. That's why he was acquiring assets so they can do stuff like this. Because if you're looking down, like just look at the Phantoms, man. Like the way they've been playing. Like the kid Luchenko's been playing really good down there.
Really good.
Lixell is having a crazy run. Which, by the way, guys, I don't know if you know this, but you can go on Lehigh Valley Phantoms on Twitter and watch the game. There's a game 5. Game 5 is tonight in Hershey, 5 o'clock. So
nice.
Make sure you guys go there and check that out, man. Root them on.
Yeah, damn right.
I brought this up to James, I would say about a year or 2 ago. I said, if the Flyers are going to make this turn to try and flip and rebuild, it has to come from the Phantoms. It has to come from when the Phantoms were good back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when they had John Stevens as their coach and they had all this talent coming up through those ranks. Yep. The Phantoms were in the Calder Cup like quite frequently. Yeah. And so, like, if they're back to that prominence, and then you have someone like Danny Briere who's going to continue to refill the coffers, not just for the Flyers, but for the Phantoms themselves, it's an interesting concept. And keep in mind, there is a part of this where not just Matvei Michkov, but there's other people that the Flyers have drafted and stashed away. There's a guy that's coming over from Russia who's a goaltender from Russia that potentially, per Al Morganti, that could be coming over next year that, could be potentially in that goaltending, battle. I need to see more out of both the 2 positions. I need to see more out of is the goaltender position. I need a higher level of talent there. And I need a high level talent of a player on defense. I need a guy who's going to be a monster. Who's the next Chemo Timonen?
Right.
Who's the next Eric Desjardins? So James, I'll ask you the same question. You feel like Danny Briere is going to, you know, draft for quality versus quantity within those 7 picks for the first 2 rounds?
It's a very good question because there's a lot of draft picks in that in this next first couple rounds. Obviously, we have 7 this year in the first and second rounds, but yeah, I mean the thing too, I would be sure. I mean, the thing that you have to look at too. Obviously, you won't see these players for maybe a couple years or so, but also you'll probably see a couple players like probably come up like in the next couple years or so too. Will be like the Alvar Bunks of the world and the Adam Bumps, and the list goes like the one that won the national championship in Western Michigan. So that's
Right.
something to keep a close eye on too. But for me, I mean. Yeah, I mean, if you can like get very good players out of it in those 7 good picks, I mean, yeah, sure, you'll hit and miss on some of them. I mean, but that's the way it is. I mean, like not every draft pick is perfect unless you're Howie Roseman. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But you know, I thought about this too, and I said to myself, you know, when we're talking about like the Flyers need to bring a goaltender in that has more of like a veteran presence. I would definitely go out of my way and try to bring back Anthony Stolarz after what he brought up, after what he did with the Maple Leafs. Obviously, he's missing some games now due to that concussion he suffered back in that game or two a couple nights ago. But I would go out of my way and say, you know, if you want to like bring an actual goaltender here to lean in to help like a Sam Ersson or even like an Ivan Fedotov, like to try to like give him a little bit of the wings to kind of like what Bruscala was supposed to be with Bobrovsky, but at the same time, I mean, the Stolarz thing, I think it works because I think if you give Stolarz obviously it'll be a little bit far fetched to climb to try to get him back in orange and black, but I mean it can't hurt to bring him back to give that goaltender. Give the team a little bit of a veteran presence on the ice too about what they need to do, especially if they want to become a Stanley Cup contender in the next couple of years.
you know, and I have to ask. So, Mike, you brought up earlier about how they're offloading a lot of people. The next couple people that I would suspect would be on that block would be someone like a Sean Couturier. Do you think that Sean Couturier is safe? Or do you think that it's just, they're waiting for the right trade to come along?
I think they're waiting for the right trade. To me, he should have been dealt this year. Like Coots brings nothing anymore. Like he used to be a good defensive defenseman, but like not even now. Again, though, too, like I want to see who they bring in here as their head coach. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you saw how good they started playing when Brad Shaw took over. You know, they were winning games. They were playing tough for him. So I mean, I want to see who they bring in. Now the front runner, from what I'm hearing, Joey and James, is Rick Tocchet.
Yes,
and the
I've
only
been
reason
hearing that too.
And when Vancouver comes out and just says, "Hey, we made them an offer, but he said his head's somewhere else." I mean, the only other places I could think of where he would be a top candidate would be here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I'm waiting to see really what happens. But how much of this was Tortorella, though? Like, because to me, like, it seemed like once he got out of that building, man, that team just really started clicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a Torts guy. I kind of gave him credit for, I think Torts was just, I think he got a little impatient with the, what's the word I'm looking for? With the direction of where the organization was going.
Yeah.
I think he got impatient and said, look, we got the talent, get some people in here now and go. Like, I've been clamoring for 2 years for them to go out and sign Tarasenko. I thought, especially having Mitchkov here, you go get Tarasenko. He's an older guy. He's Russian. He can bring the kid along. I thought that would have been a perfect signing for the Flyers and Tarasenko can play center.
Yep.
So, but he ends up going to New York and signing a 2-year contract up there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I've been saying this for a while, is that Tarasenko was one that me and James had talked about, but another one is Steven Stamkos.
Stamkos,
Yeah, bringing a guy that has that pedigree, and he has kind of flamed out.
Yeah.
Like there's a
Yes.
part of all of this. Now, I'm going to kind of segue into this. James, you brought up about Mitchkov not winning Rookie of the Year.
Sure.
Yeah, it's horrible that he's not even in the running.
It's effed up, man.
What?
It's really effed up.
Why do you guys think that is, Mike? I'll ask you.
I don't know. Like, how do you keep? He played he played a full season. He's got more goals than any other rookie, more points than any other rookie, or he's second in points. I'm sorry, second in points. You're leaving him off the list for Rookie of the Year. I don't see how you can. I really don't. Like, to me, that's just a slight. To me, that's a slight on the Flyers. And I don't care. I'm not trying to be. It's not me pulling out my homer flag. The kid put the work in to be noticed, and then you're going to tell him that he's first in goals, second in points, but no, you're not good enough to win Rookie of the Year. You're not even in the conversation because you play for the Flyers. That's basically what
I think too.
That's what the NHL is basically telling the Flyers, and I think that's horse you know what. Okay, because that kid played his butt off. I mean, he had three overtime winners. Okay, he also had like 3 or 4 shootout goals on shootouts. Like, the kid played his part, he busted his butt, and for him not to be in the conversation, I'm not saying he was the best rookie, but he's got to at least be in the conversation. And for them not to even say, no, you're not even nominated for Rookie of the Year, that's bull.
That's ludicrous.
James, what do you think? What do you think the reason is?
Yeah, I think it's what Mike said. I think it's more like that the Flyers don't get any respect. The Flyers are not relevant. I mean, right now, you think about what happened many times before. I mean, look, if this was like maybe that 2010 year and Mitchkov was on a tear and the Flyers won a Stanley Cup, he would have won Rookie of the Year. Because, I mean, here's the thing, too, with Mitchkov, too. I looked down that list and I said to myself, okay, who, would be, why didn't he get the the finalist of the Rookie of the Year? Okay, Lane Hudson had a good year for the Montreal Canadiens. Okay, fine, whatever. Same thing with Celebrini. Okay, he had an okay year, but okay, fine, whatever. Dustin Wolf, though, from the Calgary Flames was a shocker to me, ahead of Matvei Michkov. I'm thinking, so what has this guy? I mean, look, I understand he probably has a name that sounds like it could be like a very good it's all about. It's kind of like what they did a couple years ago when they were trying to impress Trevor Zegras in the world and try to think that, he's doing all these spinning nickels on his forehead type of goals, SportsCenter top 10 plays and all that. That's what it comes down to. I guess he was not too not too flashy enough. He wasn't flashy enough.
No, he just went and played, and again. The NHL don't like the Flyers until they need the Flyers. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. And, being a Flyers fan, you got to learn to live with that. But for him not to be on there, it's just ludicrous. I mean, you have people on the NHL network that are going, are you kidding me? Matvei Michkov is not in the running for this. Right. They're like, no, that's bad. That's really bad. So, but hey, I hope it fuels the kid's fire and says, okay, you're not going to give me that. All right, well, now I'm coming for league MVP. So, we need that in our lives going forward with this Flyers team.
Absolutely.
And this is a guy who I feel like what I have seen this past season. This is a guy that he doesn't need a lot of ammunition, but you give this guy more ammunition, he's going to make you pay. And I just feel that in my bones. And I'm not also going to be surprised if Danny Briere goes and gets more guys to surround him that are from his, country that he can bring in and the Flyers create the new Russian 5. This is a possibility in my mind that Michkov could be what Ovechkin was to the Capitals. Michkov could be for the Flyers.
I would hope
And
so.
you got to remember Ovechkin was not always the Capitals weren't always like Stanley Cup contenders,
Sure.
but Ovechkin was always one of the better players on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And now look where Ovechkin is.
Right.
Like so that echelon, it just makes me feel like if that's the potential we are looking forward to, because you got to remember Mitchkov is still very, very young.
Definitely.
And this is a guy that could have a 15-year journey if he wanted to, if not
Mhm.
longer.
Mhm.
And that being said, it's going to be interesting if the NHL wants to continually disrespect him, how he's going to turn that into ammunition against the league. Because you got to remember, we talked about this before the season, all of us, is that there are certain contending teams that used to be contenders that are going to start falling off the wayside, like a Pittsburgh Penguins, like a New York Rangers. Those teams are going to start to fall by the wayside, and they're going to be a new regime coming up. And so the Flyers could be that new regime coming up, led by your Matske Mitchkov.
Well, listen, I'm looking here at some of these soon to be free agents in you know in the NHL coming up. And I'll tell you what, like there's a couple on here that um really have my I guess catching my eye. Um, Christian Dvorak, from Montreal. I liked him.
Mhm.
Uh, Michael Grunlund from Dallas.
Mhm.
Again, these guys are in their 30s. Um, the one that I'm looking at right here that I'm seeing is Trent Frederick from I'm looking. If
Boston.
you look, no, Trent, he was with Boston. He's with Edmonton now.
Ah.
But you have a couple like you're talking. You have Philip Kusherev. He's 25. He's a restricted free agent from there, from the Blackhawks. I'm just looking at some of these guys like that you're looking at. If you're looking at the top tier ones, believe it or not, the top tier one is John Tavares from the Maple Leafs, and it's him, Backstrom, and Claude Giroux. But there's one on here now. But you want to hear something
Lost
funny?
Joey.
This fourth guy, I would sign here in a second. Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson is an up and coming free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent. He played with Colorado. They got eliminated, so he's a free agent right now. I would sign him. Him and Yanni Gordell both from Tampa. Both of them guys, I would sign either one of those guys to come in here and play center.
I like Yanni Gord too.
I like him too, but I like Brock Nelson too. He's big, he's physical. You can put him on the front line, opposite TK and Mitchkov. That's a hell of a first line.
I'll say right now, I'll go after one of those Carolina Hurricanes players too, like Vasiljevic or the other guy, Jankowski. Yeah. Or Jankowski or the other guy. I forget his name. What was his name?
But the thing that I would also say in regards to the draft picks, and you bring up free agents and restricted free agents, having all those draft picks does help when creating an offer sheet for those restricted free agents. It opens up that door. And so I would not necessarily discount the idea of the Flyers if the person's right, if it's the right person going after a restricted free agent in order and giving up a pick or two or as compensation for that particular player. I mean, that seems like it would be something the Flyers might think about doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up for today. I wanted to first say thank you to Mike Lauro for coming on and talking all things Philly sports. And Mike, where can people find you, and what is on the horizon for Mike Lauro?
You could find me actually tonight on It's a Wrap Sports. I will be hosting the Fightins Final. So you could find me there over on It's a Wrap Sports on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X. You can find us on all social media accounts, so make sure you check me out there. Tomorrow morning, guys, special start time. Of course, me and Pat Bernard, that's right, and Al Safiri. The band got back together, PM in the AM. This
Nice.
is week number 2 of that. So we will be starting a special start time of 11 a.m. because if you have a lady in your life or a mom in your life, make sure you at least go and do your fatherly duties or husbandly duties to take care of that. So we are starting a special start time tomorrow at 11. And yeah, that's for the most part, guys. That's where I'm at. I'm at on It's a Wrap Sports. I've been doing Flyers post game with them, which now the season's over, so I'm back on. But show coming up on the horizon. I will tell you this. I can break the news here. Don't have a name for it yet, but I will be doing a Penn State post game show this year for the Penn State Nittany Lions. So I'll be doing those on It's a Wrap. And of course, not the Locker Room Sports Show, but something similar to that, which you guys were a part of. I'm bringing that back once football season starts. Mainly going to deal with football nuances, betting and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that.
Speaking of
definitely.
Al Safiri, not to throw this out there too much, but we might be having Al Safiri on next week on our show. So,
Producer extraordinaire. I call him the voice of God.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's kind of selling his ego.
Oh yeah.
So for James Scorza, my voice of God, James Scorza, thank you very much for producing, and for everyone
You got it,
joining us
brother.
and watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button on Hardcore Sports Network and follow our sister station, Stream Punk Entertainment PA, on YouTube and all social media channels. For Mike Lauro, for James Scorza, I'm Joe Marks. We are the Patterson Ave Sports Show, and let's go Phils, and we are out.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone. We'll see you next week.